I don't mean to harp on COVID stuff, uh, but you and Lindsay were talking about like the creative dimension, and then you were talking about the production being kind of heady, uh, more of a cerebral learning experience, and
Mm.
then emotional outlet and resonating and all these different functions and ways that music interacts with you and helps you. And uh, did those things were those things the same or different during COVID?
I think they sort of amplified even more for me. Um, I think one thing that I owe a lot to in sort of I was a voice major in my college years, just a few years of doing all kinds of music and sort of owe a lot to Sharon Braun who taught me. She was my voice teacher, and she was really so heavy on being body aware first. You know, we spent a lot of our lessons just sitting up straight and just even getting up to and moving too. So there's a lot of elements where I sort of talk about dancing and that sort of movement. Um, dancing with Sue and it's uh, sort of a symbol for me. Um, Really picturesque, the way I was sort of taught and sort of how I sort of brought that into how I performed today. And um, yeah, it's sometimes it could be different depending on the performance. Some performances really take my breath away, with not necessarily with what I project, but with how it's set up and how other people's stories really impact me. Um, I take a lot of time afterwards just to like really think about it. So um, combination of those things, um, I really try to capture. Even in a studio setting, I think that's really important. Just remembering those, how good you're feeling, and even how crappy you kind of feel. Um, yeah, those different elements.
Just wanted to jump in here, and I just wanted to highlight the body aware concept that you put on the table, and say I really appreciate it. As a doctor, it's my side job when I'm not trying to be a hack musician with Adam 3 beats behind the beat. That's our new band
Keep,
name, Adam.
keep your side job.
So my side job as a doctor and a researcher um, is makes me reflect on the idea of being integrated, right, and connected internally as well as with others. And when you speak about music and your experience of making music, writing music, performing music, there's this big degree of connection that's internally as well as with other musicians, the people that are supporting you, and the people that are there and experiencing this event with you. The whole idea of integration is something that I deal with every day with my patients. Often not being integrated, right? The idea of being disconnected. I often think about some of the people that I see, and they've been disconnected from families. They're living downtown on the street or whatever. I have a downtown clinic. They're disconnected from their communities, Indigenous communities of origin. They are connected with the group of people that they are with. They're disconnected from like tons of things that keep us well, right? Like knowledge, learning, music, all that kind of good stuff. There's this degree of disconnection, and then I see people who aren't in that sort of life sort of context, but just kind of like Indigenous people that live all throughout the city and that come in from the reserve to come see us. There's this disconnection that facilitates unwellness, and it's always part of my reflections as well as conversations. As well, how can we get connected, right? How can you as a person get connected, whether it's with your identity as an Indigenous person or with your physicalness, right, as you're describing, with your voice, right? If colonization and this world, this Canadian society disconnects us from all of those things, and makes me really reflect on some of the old teachings that I have from the elders in my community. The idea that all of our parts can be like, pushed apart, specifically our spirit, right? And that often the elders would always tell me, Lindsay, make sure that you call your spirit, right? Sometimes your spirit goes to places where it's been really awesome and you move along, but because it's awesome there, it doesn't want to come with you. Sometimes it wanders away and does all that stuff because of the troubles in your context. But you have to call your spirit at all times as a regular practice, and the process of purifying yourself with sage and sweetgrass and going to ceremony are all ways to integrate yourself. But I find on top of that, when I play music, there's this degree of bringing myself back together that is very powerful. I feel extremely well, like connected, and I think that I wanted to get your thoughts on that dynamic. What is it like for you when you're singing a song or writing a song, or just when things are just coming together? What's it like for you, and how do you facilitate that in your life?
Yeah, really, really great reflection, and great question. I think there's this one tune I played last night, actually at this sort of holiday showcase, and it's called Bobtail Road, and it's there's this road that is really, really dear to my heart in Treaty 6. It's right between Ponoka and Musqueam. Bobtail Road, which I've driven down so many times with my family, going to see my Muslim and all my cousins and more family too. It's just kind of sort of the meeting spot that really keeps me grounded. Just traveling to and from parts of the day and parts of the night where it could, to some, it could feel a little bit eerie, but to me, again, it feels really grounded. I find it such a powerful thing to, sort of try to paint that picture for other people, but just first and foremost, having that picture for yourself and keeping it to yourself as well. I really love playing that tune. It's recently written this past year, and I got to kind of travel with it, but just sort of setting myself up for that song and for the audience. I really bring it back to how much my dad means to me, and my Muslim too. My Muslim is 89. He's 89, and he's sort of experiencing some onset dementia. So it's kind of we're sort of navigating that with our family, and he, even though I'm here in Mohkinstsis in Calgary, he always sort of asks. He knows. He doesn't know my name exactly right away, but he knows that I'm here and I'm playing music, and I'm following my passion. So just that alone really, really gets me, keeps me going forward, and easy to talk about these things as well, when I'm really honoring my family and my ancestors as well. I feel like even though I'm still learning about these teachings and my history, I find that I'm in the right place for it, and I feel like this outlet and this emotional outlet um, keeps me connected with my spirit where it takes me. And I feel like just hearing from people last night, there's people from Ponoka that know about Bobtail Road, and just something I didn't think about, people really connecting, knowing that place at heart, and growing up there. They mentioned after the show that they know my dad and stuff, and it just really love those connections. I find them. Last night was really emotional for me, and I'm hoping to, as I further build more skills for songwriting and what works for me, getting to sit down with my dad and my Muslim, as well as such a healing experience. I want to capture those in the purest form. And there's a lot of great artists today. There's this really great artist, I think his name is pronounced Ayasanabi. Believe he's from the Ontario area, and he put out a really great record. I think it's called Watin, and he recorded a lot of these conversations in the height of the pandemic with his grandfather, learning about residential schools and his experience with that. Having those recorded really sparked something into me and really inspired me and other people. It's going a lot of really great places. So I find people who preserve that knowledge and those stories. It gets me really excited for music to come out. For younger Nietzsche's, younger Indigenous people that are just starting out. Songwriting, it's such a wonderful thing. Could also be really traumatic as well. So it's a mix of feelings. And for me personally, I find it really cathartic. Just to know that I have this platform and building these stories together. Yeah, I'd say that.
It feels like it's a big privilege, I think, to be able to connect with family and with community and tell stories, right? Because I mean, we come from a community, a culture of oral tradition, and we have to keep those stories alive, right? And how do we do so? So songwriting is I think the way, the stories that we tell. I think that's just when you were speaking, it made me think of all the great times I had with my mom and grandparents and brothers and sisters, just retelling old stories, right? And how much fun we'd have. We'd have big laughs and all that good stuff just around the kitchen table. And it seems like music and songwriting is all about that, is cherishing those moments and helping to for them to live and breathe and have a life of their own, right?
Yeah.
It made me think of Thomas King, that author, that Indigenous author, when he did the Massey lectures, The Truth About Stories. He starts off his lectures with just this, that stories, the truth is, that's all we are, right? These stories are critical to our lives. So stories are what we are, and we celebrate them in the ways that Indigenous people do. So I think in terms of wellness, bringing it back to this podcast, is the sharing, the creation, the listening, all those aspects of storytelling are ways that we could connect and be connected internally as well as with each other, and the making and the doing, creation of stories is an accessible avenue for all of us. Anyway, so I had some thoughts there just to share with you guys. Laid down something heavy, and I see that Adam's eyes glazed over for just a minute there.
You know what, man? I started feeling emotions, so I just went to my default and just just put those things down.
Sometimes it's
I'm
easy
glad
to do
that I
that,
could.
but yeah.
I'm glad I helped you out there, Adam, to practice a well practiced coping mechanism.
Ah, yeah. You know, there's a. It's interesting, right? When you listen to, like, you could have two people going through similarly difficult experiences, and the way that that person tells the story to themselves, like, is like a pretty significant, what do you call it? Like a indicator of where that person's at in terms of resolve and efficacy and support, and you know, if you think like your music, what you're playing is like your own story, the songs that you select, the songs that you write, you know, and it's just really making me question your psychological health, Lindsay, because some of the songs, dude.
I mostly sing about peanut butter. What are you talking about?
Yeah, what's up with that? I mean, I like peanut butter, but
Peanuts are an indigenous food, man.
it's just that song, peanut butter and jelly. And jelly! Every gig, every practice.
Yeah. You stop showing up to those practices, though, hey?
Well, that's why.
Tradition. It's true.
So do you have any? I'm going to pass it to you, Adam. You're on a roll.
Yeah.